2, 1, 0.
Jai Shri Krishna. Om Namo Shivaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Welcome. Anyone who watches this channel probably knows or has an inkling of the fact that I love history. I'm a history author, matter of fact, and a former history journalist. I love reading about history. But as a historian, I believe that we do not study the past to understand the past. We study the past to understand the here and now, and to learn about tomorrow. I'm going to read something in today's episode to you that I think will blow your mind on how little we have changed, because the past is today. So stay tuned for something I think you'll find really, really interesting. Even if you don't like history, this is on social issues, so I think I'm going to grab you coming or going. So I'm going to read an article today from Reader's Digest. You remember that? Used to be all over the place. I don't know if anybody reads it anymore. This is actually condensed from the Billings Gazette, Billings, Montana. And it is an article by a professor from the University of Montana in the history department, Professor K. Ross Toole. And the article is entitled, "I'm Tired of the Tyranny of Spoiled Brats." The little description says, "This is a springboard for discussion as an angry, middle-aged professor speaks out against his generation's capitulation to the militant minority of the young." The militant minority of the young. Think about the world right now as I broadcast in 2024. Militant minority. Does that ring a bell to you? Tyranny of the Spoiled Brats. Does that ring a bell to you? Does it sound familiar to you? Does it sound like anything you might see around you? I bet it does. You write to me, all of you. You send me emails. You comment. I know what you see around you. Spoiled brats. People bowing down to them. So I thought you'd find this article very interesting. Sorry, I got something on my glasses. Let me just clean this off. And while I'm cleaning this off, I'm going to tell you a little something about this article that I haven't said yet. It's from 1970. Yeah, I'm reading an article from 1970. But listen, I'm not going to interrupt. I'm just going to read the whole thing, say a few things afterwards. And I want you to think about your world today, wherever you are in the world, whatever you see around you, whether you're in South Africa or Bharat or Australia or Europe or America or Canada, wherever. Just think about what I'm reading to you, even if it's from 1970. And I'm going to read all but just a few lines that I've cut out because I just don't think you might get the reference. So the professor wrote, "I am 49 years old." 2 years older than me, actually. "It took me many years and considerable anguish to get where I am, which isn't much of any place except Exerbia. I was nurtured in depression. I lost 4 years to war. I am invested with sweat. I am liberal. I am square, and I am sick of hippies, yippies, militants, and nonsense. I am a professor at the University of Montana, and I am tired of being blamed, named, and contrite. I am tired of tolerance and the reaching out for understanding, which always falls on my shoulders to do. I am sick of the total irrationality of the campus rebel whose bearded visage, dirty hair, body odor, and tactics are actually childish and brutal, naive but dangerous, and the essence of arrogant tyranny, the tyranny of spoiled brats. As a professor and as a father of 7 children ranging in age from 7 to 23, I have watched this new generation and concluded that most of them are actually fine, but a minority are not. And the trouble is that the minority threatens to tyrannize the majority and take over. I dislike that minority. I am aghast that the minority takes it. Sorry, I'm aghast that the majority takes it and allows itself to be used. As one fed-up member of the establishment, which, by the way, is nothing but a euphemism for society, said to me, let me rephrase this. As a member of the establishment, which by the way is nothing but a euphemism for society, I say it's time to call for a halt to this nonsense. We owe the younger generation what all older generations have owed younger generations: love, protection to a point, and respect when they deserve it. We do not owe them our souls, our privacy, our whole lives, and above all, we do not owe them immunity from our mistakes or their own. Every generation makes mistakes, always has, and always will. We have made our share, but my generation has also made America the most affluent country on earth. It has tackled head-on a racial problem as no nation in history has dared to do. It has publicly declared war on poverty, and it has gone to the moon. It has desegregated schools and abolished polio. It has presided over the beginning of what is probably the greatest social and economic revolution in history. It has begun these things, not finished them. It has declared itself and committed itself and taxed itself and damn near ruined itself into the ground in the cause of social justice and reform. Its mistakes are fewer than those of the past generation, or his father's generation. Its greatest mistake is not Vietnam. It is the abdication of its first responsibility, its capitulation to its youth. Since when have children ruled this country? By virtue of what right, by virtue of what accomplishment, should teenagers wet behind the ears and utterly without the benefit of having lived long enough to have either judgment or wisdom become the sages of our time? The psychologists, educators, and preachers say the young are rebelling against our archaic mores and morals, our materialism, our failures in diplomacy, our terrible ineptitude in racial matters, our narrowness as parents, and our blindness to the root ills of society. Okay, fine. I say balderdash. Common courtesy and a regard for the opinion of others are not merely decorations on the pie crust of society. They are the heart of the pie. Too many youngsters are egocentric bores. They will not listen and discuss. They will only shout down and throw rocks. Society has classically ostracized arrogance without the backing of demonstrable accomplishment. Why then do we tolerate arrogant slobs urinating on our beliefs and defiling our premises? It is not the police we need, our generation and theirs. It is an expression of our disgust and disdain. Yet we do more than permit this behavior. We dignify it with introspective flagellation. Somehow it is our fault. Oh, balderdash again. The youth... Excuse me, let me take a drink. The young of any generation have felt the same impulse to reach out, to touch the stars, to live freely, and to let the mind loose along unexplored corridors. Young men and women have always felt the same vague sense of restraint that separated them from the ultimate experience, the sudden and complete expansion of the mind, the final fulfillment. It is one of the oldest, sweetest, and most bitter experiences of mankind. Today's young people did not invent sensitivity. They do not own it. And what they seek to attain, all mankind has sought to attain through the ages. Shall we therefore approve the presumed attainment of it through drugs? And shall we permissively let them poison themselves simply because, as in most other respects, we feel vaguely guilty because we brought them into this world? Again, it is not the police raids and the tougher laws that we need, it is merely strength. The strength to explain, in our potty middle-aged way, that what they seek, we sought. That it is somewhere, but sure as hell not in drugs. Society, the establishment, is not a foreign thing we seek to impose on the young. It, along with the 18-year-old, is the product of thousands of years of the development of mankind. We know it is far from perfect. Oh, we certainly know that. We did not make it. We have only sought to change it. We win, if we win at all, slowly and painfully. The fact that we have been only minimally successful is the story of all generations, as it will be the story of the generation coming up, and the one after that, and the one after that. Knowing this, why do we listen subserviently to the violent technicians of the new generation? Either they solve all the problems this week or join a wrecking crew of paranoids. Youth has always been characterized by impatient idealism. If it were not, there would be no change. But impatient idealism does not extend to guns, firebombs, riots, vicious arrogance, and instant gratification. That is not idealism. It is childish tyranny. The worst of it that we, professors and faculty in particular, in a bit of self-abnegation, go along with. Sorry, I missed a word. The worst of it is that we, professors and faculties in particular, in a moment of self-abnegation, go along with it, apologize as if we had personally created the ills of the world, and thus lend ourselves to chaos. We are the led, not the leaders, and we are fools for being the led. As a professor, I meet the activists and revolutionaries every day. They are inexcusably ignorant. If they want to make a revolution, do they study the ways to do it? Of course not. Their hero is Che Guevara, whose every move was a miscalculation and a mistake. He failed. He died in the jungles of Bolivia with an army of 6. I have yet to talk to an activist who has read Crane Brighton's Anatomy of a Revolution, or who is familiar with the works of Jefferson, Washington, Paine, Adams, or even really Marx and Engels, outside of what they've been told in hearsay. An old and scarred member of the wars of organized labor in the United States in the 1930s recently said to me, "These radicals couldn't organize well enough to produce a sensible platform, let alone revolt their way out of a paper bag." Oh, he's wrong, because they can, because we let them. We let them destroy our universities, make our parks untenable, make it shambles of our streets, and insult our flag. We assert that we are in trouble with this younger generation not because we have failed our country, not because of materialism and stupidity, but simply because we have failed to keep that generation in its place, and failed to put it back there when it got out. We have the power, we just don't have the will. We have the right, but we have not exercised it. To the extent that we now rely on the police, the National Guard, mace, tear gas, steel fences, and a wringing of hands, we will fail. We need to use disdain, not mace. We need to reassess a weapon we came by the hard way, by travail and labor. Firm authority as parents, teachers, businessmen, workers, and politicians. That's what we need. The vast majority of our kids, though, from 1 to 20, are actually fine kids. We need to back this majority with authority and with the firm conviction that we owe it to them and to ourselves. Enough of apologies. Enough of analysis, enough of our abdication of responsibility, enough of the denial of our own maturity and common good sense. The best place to start is at home, but the most practical and effective place right now is our campuses. This does not mean a flood of angry edicts, a sudden clampdown, or a new policy. It simply means that faculties should stop playing chicken, that demonstrators should be met not with police but with expulsion. The power to expel, today strangely used or even unused, is one of the oldest rights and necessities of the university community. Does that sound too simple? Not at all. Merely an old process which we seem to have forgotten. It is too direct for those who seek to employ Freudian analysis, too positive for academic senates who long for philosophical debate, and too prosaic for those who seek orgiastic self-condemnation. This is a country full of deceit, worried people like myself. It is also a country full of people fed up with nonsense. We need, those of us over 30, tax-ridden, harried, confused, weary, and beat up. That is us. We need to reassert our hard-won prerogatives. It is our country, too. We have fought for it, bled for it, dreamed for it, and we love it. Now, it is time to reclaim it. Thus spoke Professor K. Ross Toole of the University of Montana in 1970. Now, wherever you are, how much of that resonated with you? Sadly, according to this, history hasn't really changed that much. We just repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. That's why I say we don't learn the past to study the past. We learn the past to study right now, because this is right now. This is before I was born. He wrote this. But it hasn't changed, which is good and bad. It hasn't gone way out there. We've been lucky, in America at least. If you're in North Korea, I'm sorry. On the other hand, is it time for change? Now, the brats that he spoke of in this are now college professors. They're actually retiring now. They're my parents' age. They have kids who are also spoiled brats. So, while history hasn't changed, it has changed. We now have the grandchildren of the spoiled brats leading us. And they're just as spoiled, and I believe just as clueless as what this article said. They lack judgment or wisdom. And they're fighting to destroy the society which raised them and gave them the opportunity to do what they do. I won't say too much about this because I was overwhelmed when I read this. And it just made me ponder. So I'm just going to leave this video here and just say, I hope you enjoyed that reading. Please feel free to ponder in the comment section on whatever forum you're watching this on, or feel free to write to me. I know it's not strictly a spiritual matter, but it's a social matter. And many of you write to me not just curious about religion, but religion and society go together for you. Religion is a way to see for society, deal with society, work through society, because you know that there is more than just the establishment. But for you, it's not about destroying society. You just want to just let it go. You want something more. So I thought many of you would really enjoy this reading. So there you go. I'm tired of the tyranny of the spoiled brats. This professor said, I agree with him, and maybe you will too. So thank you for watching. Jai Shri Krishna. Be well, and take care. All of you, you know how to support the channel down below. Reach out, comment, etc. All that stuff.